Hey everyone, John Henry here from School of Trade, and today we're going to be taking a look at a head and shoulders pattern short here on crude oil. Now I'm taking the aggressive entry, trying to get ahead of before the break of that low there. So taking a little bit more of an aggressive entry. The actual pattern entry is going to trigger below 64.17, which actually looks like it might trigger a little bit sooner here. I do like how it's setting up a little bit beforehand, so I'm willing to take a little bit more of a risk, if you will, and hop in aggressively early, and hopefully it pays off for us hopping in a little bit aggressive. Now the reason outside of that I'm trying to hop in a little bit more aggressively is because the stop size is relatively large on this pattern. So we've got the left shoulder, the head, and then the right shoulder forming, and I'm just looking at the shoulder breakdown here, which is happening currently right now. Again, the early entry is below that previous swing, and now we're just looking back to the downside. But the way that it's set up, we came back to the EMA and kind of ricocheted around a little bit, trapped in a lot of the buyers ahead of this little inside green candle here, and then just dumped straight back down again. So I really like how that looked. I hopped in there. So I'm short at 64.24, only going in two contracts again because the stop size in this case is 53 ticks. It's a pretty big stop size. So what we're doing here is, because it's so big, I'm looking to take off at the 50% this time, just halfway, and then looking to take the rest off at 58. Back to the downside again. That way we can lock in our stop a little bit sooner and reduce some of this risk. The initial risk that we're seeing right now is quite large. You could be aggressive and just move your stop above that right shoulder there, but I think that's a little too aggressive, especially since this is a kind of a downward slanted head and shoulders. It does have a likelihood of coming back, whipping around that area before falling. So we do have to be a little bit kind of cognizant of the fact that it's not a picture perfect pattern. It is angled, but everything else is setting up perfectly. So we're in short right now, 64.24, looking for the first target at 88, and then looking at the next target down at 58. So we'll be back in a little bit and see if we can start hitting some of these targets. All right, we're coming into our target. There we go. Got that filled. Got a lot of pressure coming in. There was a big pop down when we hit that area there, and we're seeing a little bit of follow through now. It does make me a little bit nervous, the fact that we're pushing into that 50% so aggressively. The potential of it kind of failing here or stalling a little bit goes a little bit higher when you fail into a big area of support. The big key that we need to see now is for this candle right now that's forming to close underneath that 50%. That's kind of the key area there. If we can close underneath that, then we know we're still clear sailing back to the downside. If it closes, is an example right now where it is, we could fluctuate around a little bit, even reverse back up to the upside, which we really don't want to see. But again, because this pattern is so large, I opted to take off part of it at the 50% at 88, and then looking for the full move down to 58 to complete this head and shoulders pattern. So our early entry, we were in at 64.24, got that first target taken off at 88. That gives us 36 ticks, looking for the final push lower to get that next target down there for 66. So even though it's a relatively large setup, we do have potential for picking up a nice move, but we need to see this candle not close where it is right now. I'd much rather see this close underneath the 50%, and then we know that we're, again, clear sailing back to the downside. So give us a little bit more time, see if we can get that final target at 58 filled. All right, getting a big push back to the downside again. It took a little bit. We did close underneath it, but we still caught up a little bit of consolidation here. Let me cancel my stop. Big push down, filled our target there, all in one move. We essentially bounced from about 70s all the way down there. It's 13 tick move in under a second. Just really quick hammering down there after the consolidation. Now, the way that this kind of setup was a little bit aggressive, and we entered aggressively as well to get our stop smaller. But like we were talking about before, we really wanted to see that candle close underneath, and it didn't. Gave us a heads up that, potentially it could get a little bit sloppy here. We did close underneath, it still got sloppy, got stuck in there a little bit. Formed a little bit of consolidation here. It looks like they attempted to break the highs, trapped in a lot of the buyers, and then dumped right back down to the downside. So beautiful rejection there at that 50%. So that's going to be the trade for today. Overall, we banked 66 and 36. It gives us 102 ticks on the trade for a beautiful kind of slanted head and shoulders. Great pattern. So that's going to be the trade. If you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.